Hello, everyone. Welcome to the TSF9 podcast. These last few months have been tough for the venture capital industry. Investments have decreased across all funding stages, and all metrics point to a tougher environment for private markets and private market investors. Having said that, there are always bright spots, and it's great to see investments going into emerging markets, emerging technologies, and sustainability. Today, we'll talk to someone who's been working in the venture space for a while and debunk the myth that careers are straight lines, something that over time naturally progresses with more responsibilities, more work, and more things to worry about. Sometimes, one's career can take a turn or two into exciting new areas, particularly those dealing with technology, and perhaps in a foreign country too. This week's guest, joining us from Tokyo, is Amanda Kanai. Amanda was an investment banker at Morgan Stanley for several years, working international equity and debt financing and cross-border M&A in Beijing and Hong Kong. Amanda then relocated to Japan, where she started working in venture capital, first at Gumi Cryptos Capital, and then setting up her own advisory firm, EValue Capital. Having made her own career pivot into venture investments, Amanda is now helping connecting entrepreneurs and startuppers with capital. Amanda, welcome to TechShift F9. I'm very thankful to have you on this week's podcast. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mal, for having me.
So, Amanda, you've made a big career change fairly early in your professional journey. You left a coveted front office role at Morgan Stanley for the world of venture capital. What motivated you to do it, and what were some of your expectations and concerns regarding this career change?
Thank you, Mal, for the question. So Morgan Stanley is my first job out of college. I've been in investment banking division in Hong Kong and Beijing for 5 years. So at that time, I felt I have done banking enough, and I wanted to have more time to really get involved with the business and understand how the business is really working. So at that time, also personally, I wanted to live in Japan for a while. That's why geographically, I came to Japan. I relocated to Japan. And also on the industry side, I felt instead of being in the third party, like a services provider, like investment banks, it might be more helpful for me if I can really join a business to learn how the business is managed and functioned. So that's why I decided to join corporates in Japan, more on the corporate development and corporate venture capital side.
But when you started your career at Morgan Stanley, were you already thinking that after a while you would want to do something else? Or is this something that you've developed as you were working?
Yes, that's something I developed as I was working, because I saw many of my ex-colleagues, they have different choices as in their career and in their lives. You know, some of them, they went to like buy side, like private equity. Some of them, just like me, they joined like corporate to do like corporate development and corporate venture capital investing. And some of them decided to found their own business. So I really appreciate the platform that Morgan Stanley gave me, and also the great colleagues I had in my banking time to first kind of equip myself to be better fitting in the different industries later. And also I see a lot of options that can be possible in everyone's life. And also I forgot to mention one thing, but in banking, usually what you get exposed is more later stage companies. That's a company before IPO. But in venture capital, corporate venture capital, it's more like you see a company from more like 0 to 1 stage, and you get to know the entrepreneurs when they are still like a starter, or when they are still building their career from the company from scratch. So I think that's another thing that excites me to join the VC industry.
Yeah, that is very exciting. You feel part of that growth process. But if you cast your mind back to when you were thinking about moving from banking to venture investing, and as you just said, you had gained a lot of skills, and I think many of them could easily port over to a new job. But when you actually made that move, was that the case, or did you feel there were some areas that you really needed to work on that you weren't expecting to be, for example?
Yeah, sure. So if we skip the part of, being in a foreign country, the language difference and cultural difference, just focused on the transition in the career, then I think definitely there are skills that I can take from my previous job in the banking. For example, the skills to analyze the industry, a business, to work on due diligence, to talk to the management team. And banking provides like a more well-rounded training in different aspects, including like interpersonal skills too. However, I think switching into venture capital industry, that's something, in a completely stage compared to the stage where most clients in banking are. So first, I have to build a lot of new connections in the VC industry. So I will go to a lot of events and meetups to just talk to people, talk to strangers. But this didn't really happen in banking very frequently, because banking is more like, you work on a deal basis. You already have a company that is fully in shape. But in VC industry, you have to talk to, like for example, your fellow VC investors or the industry stakeholders, or like the very young entrepreneurs. So I think that's something that is completely different from my experience before. But I really enjoy doing it because I'm like outgoing, and I personally I also like this kind of social occasions. So yeah, I think that's something that I needed to build besides my skills from banking.
And as you said, I mean, you did all that while being in a foreign country, Japan in your case. And I know it's hard perhaps to answer this, but do you feel that being in a foreign country helped you in some ways make your career transitions easier, or did it actually make it harder?
Oh, I would say it's both. I think first, personally, I really enjoy living in Japan. Like I just in general like Japan. So for me, living in Japan is very convenient, and here, even in the startup industry, the infrastructure is very well developed. The laws, the regulations are very clear. And in general, I think the support level of the for example, on the back office side is a very, how to say, like structure in Japan. However, I think the difficult part is first, I mean, most Japanese companies do business in a very Japanese way, right? So I think that's something, as a foreigner, you need to understand the culture and the business equities. And also, the language is another thing. Well, even though I speak fluent Japanese, it's very easy to tell that, oh, you are like a foreigner, it's not a native level Japanese. But I think that also gives me an advantage, because most Japanese people, they will adopt like a more loose criteria on you. If you are a foreigner, they tend to be more tolerant and friendly. So I think in general, I mean, starting my own business in Japan, and also working in Japan is not as difficult as one might think.
That's a great perspective. Thank you. But you actually didn't just move into venture capital, right? You specifically moved into investing in crypto. And the real question I have for you is, how did you go about learning about this new and highly technical area of finance, which I suppose you weren't very familiar with when you were at Morgan Stanley?
Yeah, so I think first, I've seen a couple of my fellow colleagues from traditional finance. They move into crypto. They're either like setting up their own funds, or they are joining like crypto VC firm as an investor, or they're maybe setting up their own like a business in crypto. So I think crypto, besides the completely new technology part, I also think it's a new kind of mindset to do finance, because finance is considered like very centralized, but crypto is just the opposite. It's decentralized. So I think there are like very different parts in crypto that go against traditional finance, but there are also like similar trends in crypto that can learn from traditional finance. For example, the investing side, and also the trading side, the regulation, compliance. I think many things in crypto that can pick from traditional finance. And also personally, I had been interested in crypto since 2017. So I started buying Bitcoin. I mean, it's already late for many people, but I got interested in crypto from a personal perspective first. So I started buying Bitcoin in 2017. And then in 2019, I got this very interesting opportunity to work under quite well-known entrepreneur in Japan. I was directly supporting him in my new company, and he is also a crypto enthusiastic. So I also learned a lot about about the industry, about the technology, and I built a lot of connections in crypto because of supporting him.
It's great to see that you managed to take what was a personal interest in a new industry into a very successful career. So very well done. But Amanda, after moving into the venture capital space, you actually took another career jump a few years ago and set up your own business, EValue Capital. So a little bit another step in the unknown. And what I wonder is, how did you handle it mentally? What was something that really worked for you to help you transition into essentially having and running your own business as opposed to a more secure and stable corporate job?
Yes, I think a lot of reasons for me to decide to start my own business. First, I would say it's some kind of influence from my family because my father, he's a lawyer and he also owns his own firm. So he started his own thing 30 years ago when there were still very few private enterprises in my hometown. So everyone thought working for the government is more stable, working for state-owned enterprise in China is more stable, but he decided to take some risks. And obviously, I think the return for him is good for him. So for me, I feel first starting my own business, that means more, I would say, empower myself to have more control in my life. I'm not saying that I'm completely my own boss now because obviously I have my clients and I have my, the investors network. So they are super important for me. However, it's more like I can decide, which project I want to work with based on, a mutual communication and based on our chemistry to work together. And of course, based on the expectation or my estimation about how the project will go. So I do like the flexibility and I do like helping the entrepreneurs get something done. In my case, it would be fundraising, which is super important, especially for a startup. I love helping them using my skill set, using my network, using what I know or what I accumulate in the past more than 10 years in the finance and corporate VC to help a team that I really like and appreciate on something that that's super important for them and to help them grow. So I think to summarize, it's probably, the freedom and also the feelings that to get something done after I closed one deal. And I think that's something that kind of pushes me going on with my venture.
I can definitely see how you've taken every step of your career as an incremental move towards being in control of your own destiny, which I think is very empowering and very self-fulfilling. But a question I have when you actually run your business, and it is a venture advisory business, it must require you to follow the developments in a very technical market quite closely. Now, I'm not saying that what you were doing before, like IPOs at Morgan Stanley, was easier, but the world of digital assets changes so quickly. And so, practically speaking, how do you manage your time in running a business while keeping up with the market?
Sure. So I think one habit I did get after I started working is I will spend around 30 minutes to 1 hour every day, if my time permits, to go over all the important news on the financial, on the political side. So definitely reading news is, well, it sounds like advice to the graduates, but reading news, keeping in touch about what the world is happening is like super important. But there are many ways to read news these days, right? You can not just read it from like, for example, Wall Street Journal or Nikkei. You can also get information from like Twitter's, from like TikTok, maybe. So there are many different channels to gather information these days. And also, I think I do learn a lot by talking to different people, including talking to my client or talking to investor or talking to different stakeholders in the industry. And I think, well, I'm the kind of person that I tend to listen more, but that's why, you know, I feel a little bit nervous about this interview. But I'm kind of a person that tend to listen more and try to absorb more. So I do enjoy learning from different people, and also I think, but that again goes back to talking to people. For example, like joining the industry conferences or meetups, events that also help too.
No, I agree. I think you can't really be shy when running your own business, right? You have to put yourself out there. So I think
Exactly. I'm working on that.
you need to be mentally ready for that shift. But one thing I wanted to check with you is, about the practicality of running a business, because I feel that compared to even a few years ago, technology now has made it a lot easier to run a business. But the question I have is, do you think that in this day and age, in order to run a business like yours, like a venture boutique, you have to be like a tech head or very computer savvy person, or anyone can do it?
I think so. On my role, first, I don't think I'm a super tech savvy person, but I do think I am a passionate learner. So I'm very interested in learning about new things, new ideas. And sometimes, if the client is from a more technical background, then I have to know how to speak to him and how to help him organize the information of the company to present to investors in a more investor-friendly kind of way. So from that angle, I do need to understand technology. I do need to make sure I don't look like someone very dumb in front of the client and the investor. However, in my business, it's compared to technology, it's more about like a interpersonal relationship, about network, about connections, about trust. I think trust is super important. So from that angle, then probably it's not super, I would say, like tech intensive. However, if you're talking about the execution part, for example, like I build my own website. So that's actually the first time I try to build my own website. And it's a very simple one, but I just wanted to try it. So I think technology makes many things possible and many things easier for someone that doesn't even really have a lot of background on some new thing before. So I think keep learning is very important.
I completely agree. And I like to get my hands dirty testing new technology to get an understanding of how it works, because then when I talk to a professional, we can have a meaningful conversation. So I'm completely in agreement with you. Amanda, I just want to ask a question about your current focus. You're working with several emerging companies in the crypto space, and I think crypto gaming in particular. What makes you excited about this sector?
Yes. So first, I want to clarify that I don't really have like an industry focus. So when I was in Morgan Stanley, I did China coverage in general. So I'm kind of from like a industry agnostic background in terms of finance. However, because of my previous crypto VC is founded by a gaming company, so a lot of my client source is from like a GameFi blockchain gaming companies. So I think gaming is definitely something that excites investors a lot if you talk about Japanese startups. Even though I'm not like a strong gamer myself, I feel gaming provides another world like in parallel for a lot of people. It provides entertainment, it provides sometimes education, and sometimes in blockchain gaming case, it provides like a real world return as well. So I think what I'm excited about this industry is, so first, Web3 gaming completely changed the landscape about Web2 gaming, because Web2 gaming is more about the experience itself, but Web3 gaming sort of combines the virtual world experience with real world economy and real world return. So even though like it's still in the development phase, I am very confident that in a couple of years we will see many great blockchain games, successful blockchain games showing up in the space, and I believe some of them might be published or developed by my clients. And another thing is, I feel gaming gives blockchain technology an entry for mass adoption, because gaming is like one of the most natural way for people to get exposed to the technology, get exposed to, for example, the wallet, get exposed to the token. So I think it definitely helps for the mass crowd to have more interest in the blockchain technology, and definitely help for the adoption about the digital currency.
So, Amanda, having seen quite a lot of changes in your own career and in the industries you're with, if you were to look ahead, what are you doing to anticipate future changes for your own career, for the industries you work in? And we never know what we're going to do in the future exactly, but now that you are perhaps looking ahead at how to take your current business forward, is there something in particular that you're preparing yourself for?
Yeah, so I think just as you mentioned, it's impossible to predict what will happen tomorrow. However, I think we do see like many major trends now. For example, the AI power, right? Like it's definitely going to replace a lot of jobs. It's already replacing a lot of jobs. So I think I'm also doing my own research about how to utilize the power in AI. So I might do a side project about training my own bot in AI, and let's see if the bot can provide help to to the world or to some people. But we'll see. And also, I think one thing that does persist is your own brand name. I think it's a world that is putting more and more emphasis on personal value instead of like organizations. Of course, you still have these big organizations, big corporates, but we're seeing, for example, the KOLs and the social network. We are seeing more and more people, they just represent themselves. So I think keep building your own brand name, keep nurturing the network, is something that is always going to help, no matter how the technology develops and how the world is going to change. Because as long as it's not the end of the world, there will be still humans on the planet. And if there is human, then trust, friendship, relationship, love will always, I think, be there if there is human. So I always put a lot of attention to my own brand name, and that's why I decided to start my own thing. And my clients come for me because they know who I am. They know I will be the one who is helping them. So I think I would just keep building this, and also try my best to give return to the society in the future. So that's my strategy to adapt to a changing world.
That's such a great point. I think the perspective that you have on personal brand is so important. Sometimes we feel when we're part of a big company that we're a tiny cog in a big machine, but the reality is we're not. So thank you for bringing that up. Amanda, this has been wonderful. I really appreciated your insights and your sharing. If our listeners want to find out more about you and EValue Capital, where can they do so?
Sure. So the easiest way to reach me is by searching my LinkedIn. So you can find me at Amanda Kanai, AmandaKanai on LinkedIn. And you can also visit my company's website. It's a very simple one by visiting www.evaluecapital.jp.
Fantastic. Thanks again, Amanda.
Thank you, Mao.
Well, that's all for this week's episode, folks. I hope you've enjoyed the conversation with Amanda. I certainly did. Till next time, stay cool, stay positive.